Hello techers! Today we are diving into a important conversation. What is antitrust? Now, the importance of antitrust has grown immensely since the evolution of artificial intelligence. AI. AI continues to rapidly develop across big tech and is now integrating into key components of mobile devices, software programs, and microchips, just to name a few. This has posed a lot of questions about fair competition across the tech space. This is including conversations with big tech, FAANG, that's Facebook and Amazon and Alphabet, Netflix, Google, the key franchises out there that are delivering a wide range of tech that are also now merging with OpenAI. Many policies and laws within corporations and within corporate practice have been brought into question over the last year and a half, let's say. From Google and Apple to OpenAI and Meta, big tech has now begun to meet multiple barriers and international resistance in the form of laws, regulations, and compliance demands to ensure their practices are fair for the competing market. We're talking about fair competition. That has been the biggest argument all throughout 2023 with Google, with Apple, because the App Store is famous, isn't it? We all know the App Store. Google is the number one running search engine. And every time we clicked accept or reject on the pop-up notifications, we're being asked, are we allowed to have all of your data? Are you sharing all of your data with us and the third and fourth parties that we agree can also share our data set? Your life, every piece of you, your clicks and your shares while on this server, are they ours now? Yeah? Do you accept this? And this is not a big deal. It's been the way that data has been run and streamed from one aspect for many years now. But as OpenAI come into the space with this artificial technology, I want to say the gravitas, the rapid ratios of exchange and the way in which that data now manifests into new nodes and codes for technological development and an algorithm that is really rapid and pronto and artificial in delivery and output, right? The way that your map and your location and your favorite choices in the search engine are all fed right back round to you is beautiful. Wow, this system knows me. The algorithm is my best friend. But also on the back end, your algorithm is now being sold to a range of others who are affiliated with that big tech corporation. Whether it's these stakeholders or the advertisers or the agreed clause in the contract from this fourth or third party, everyone's getting a piece of the action. So that is the biggest issue we have with antitrust. It's the data that provides the intelligence. And the data is often being shared amongst the top at the top of the chain. And that's always been an argument with big tech and why there's always been a dissonance with it on the left. No one really wants to be in the position where they're governed and controlled by the big tech corporations. We've had stories coming out from the Edward Snowden era, right? Where we all really started to wake up and realise they're watching us. This is the Truman Show. They all see us through all of our devices. And that rattled a few feathers that woke many of us up. All the conspiracy theorists stood up, started covering their microphones and cameras just to be safe. And we still do that to this day. But that's still an ongoing issue. Not only that, the Horizon scandal that happened in the UK within the British Post Office, right? A UK staple for service delivery, right? We realised that that was being exploited on the back end, quite similarly to the events that happened over with the NSA in the back end of Facebook. that Snowden exposed. The same thing was happening at the back end of the post office through what was called Horizon software. So the antitrust questions have to keep coming. The understanding has to be there, because the apps that are going to be used, the apps that are leading the way, are often iOS. Android is also available. More and more developers and creators are building their own tech. Hermitology itself are coming out with our own tech. And the approach we're taking is rich in internationalism, regionalism, antitrust, reconstructing what we have already in place, understanding that they are the focal points and the most recognized corporations in the world. But what if we could have an alternative? An alternative that is cleaner in data sharing and richer in antitrust. And we don't want it to deter you from using the mainframe, because the mainframe is all we know. Our WhatsApp, our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, they're all connected, right? But not many of us understand the interconnected nature behind the scenes, the actor network theory that holds some of these corporations together. Some corporations are totally and utterly in bed together, right? The FAANG corporations, they're all one big happy network and family that share their intelligence, and that's what keeps their profits rolling in and round and round. Their mechanisms, their systems in place are incredibly strong because the allegiance they've developed, and the government is looking at that to make sure that that is the best possible way for them to do business, and that they are not breaching what would be fair competition in the market. So there's been a lot of shift and change legally around that. At this time, Meta is actually being blocked from introducing its AI components in Europe, because Europe have already clamped down on the fair market to make sure that new age tech, small tech, medium tech isn't abused by big tech. And that's a fair stance to take. And it's an important stance to take because it really promotes innovators and new actors into the field. Because what I will say about Meta, and Meta's a big inspiration to me and to Hermitology, we'll always support Meta where we can, where there are strong safeguards in place to protect the user, and there's absolutely clean and clear lines between data sharing and fair use and fair competition across the board, because we understand how significant their role has been in the evolution of tech. But we understand also that in relation to their last visit to Congress in regards to child sexual exploitation, there's limited degrees of freedom in what that tech company can actually do. Another example, for instance, is Pornhub. Certain states, certain nations, certain countries around the world have started to clamp down on corporations, websites, different components of what will eventually be one hub of Web3, also linked to the Industrial Revolution, right? Fourth Industrial Revolution. So Pornhub have been asked to provide clear restrictions on their website entry to deter anyone underage coming in. You would think that that would be a very easy request and very simple demand to make of a tech company, a website in today's society. But from last time I checked, Pornhub denied complying with that requirement because that is a chunk of their profits. Unfortunately, if they require ID access and they require verification, there's going to be a mass amount of people that will immediately refuse to register. That's finance. That's billions of people that may be deterred from using their service. So it's not that they're saying we want to let younger children onto the server. It's saying we know a lot of people will not want to identify and register themselves on this server, and that person, that well-being, that child protection strategy is actually a net value to us. And that's incredibly important. That's what's happened a lot with Meta, because they've asked Meta many times in Congress in different conversations to clamp down on the child abuse, the child exploitation, the advertisements, and the algorithmic curse of what is happening online then playing out in reality in really negative, sometimes violent ways. The use of live stream to kill. The Capitol building. I mean, we speak about all of these things again and again as we evolve. So in line with all of that, we've got to understand big tech are trapped, because there is a fine line. This is me being humble and respectful to big tech, because I can bitch all day sometimes, but let's look at the other side with clarity. Because if they said, you know what, yep, your laws and legislations are great and we want to abide by them, we'll take them all on board, not a problem, yes, they're going to hit the bottom line. These companies are all going to lose billions, millions and billions. Their actual output and their investments and all their hard work that they've done over years and years and years could be lost. Their business could fall to the wayside, yeah? Their company that they love so much would be obsolete. So they're going to fight for the opposing construct, and then they're going to refuse to comply if it is not an absolute compulsory measure. You can't judge them for that, because you've got to understand how the cookie crumbles. I'm playing fair here because as the founder of Hermitology, I go, if that was me and my corporation, and I'm already out of the gate 10 years in business, already making this level of money, I've got corporations and home offices all around the world delivering this tech, computer technicians, engineers, all of the above, right? Influencers being funded by this. We're paying influencers for the content they put out. There's ramifications for all of this. No one's going to want their company to collapse. But once again, we have to go, hold on, government has found shortfalls in the systems. Government have found problems all across the server. We need to strengthen our resolve. We need you to tighten up, big tech. And we're looking for you to comply with us so we can all be really healthy actors on the internet. And it's a hard go-between, because no one wants to make big tech the pariah. There's more than enough of that propaganda out there in the atmosphere, and no one wants to see big tech go bust, because it is all the corporations we use every day. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Amazon, Netflix, some of the most world-renowned corporations, Google, you know what I mean? So we're considering all of that. But as OpenAI does move into the space, it changes the game entirely. Yeah? It really, really does. Because we've really got to understand that this is a competing market. There was also a lot of conversation, I believe, last year, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even the year before, the rumblings of Microsoft taking over Activision Blizzard, right? Stepping into the gaming space, and what that was going to mean for Xbox and PlayStation and everybody who loved to play Call of Duty. Yeah, if the wealthy and the rich and the elite, right, the big tech goons, no offense guys, joking as I say that, but that's how you're portrayed sometimes, unfortunately, are looked at as the ones to govern all of the most important, influential, most expensive tech. We've got to go, hold on, wait, can we trust you all? Because the data is the richest asset we have on the planet at this time, because the data dives into demographic of the human, social interaction, how we are all functioning here and now, and that's going to dictate what we need for the future. That dictates output and adjustment to the algorithm, and ensures that we are all receiving not only what we want, more of what we want, but that then makes the need and demand be able to be met on their part. That's the markup, you know? That's their wealth, that's their revenue, that's their 10-year plan. Yeah, that's their agenda. That's how they know to provide us with what more of what we need. And sometimes that's a positive and sometimes that's a negative, especially in the UK, as conversations ramp up about knife crime, and how suddenly you watch a video or two on knife crime and then you're being advertised to go and buy a knife, you know? So the algorithms are unhealthy in certain ways, and we're trying to look at that too, okay? And that's kind of an interesting position that her tech is taking as well, and we really do believe that more than anything else, it's about how we can step in to the already facilitated networks that are here, and provide portals and pockets of prevention, I would say. Well, let's leave it like that for now. There's a lot more to come out. If you haven't seen our prospectus, it is due out on Christmas Eve 2024, so stay tuned for that. Now, on hermitology.me, you can find a link in the description for this. I've just put a few papers out. The Internationalism of Antitrust Policy is available. The Antitrust Division, United States. The EU Competition Policy Antitrust and Cartels, that's from the EU. And then just another example of a company that is actually using antitrust and competition law within their legal guidance and framework. So just kind of, we can all get a scope of how significant this is. This is the kind of legislation that any dev or tech fiend would want to look at to make sure your corporation's doing the right thing. And I've been diving in personally into the internationalism of antitrust policy, because not only is it really an important date, it came out in 2016, so it's not the freshest thing on the market, but it provides scope. It provides scope, and it's described here as the internationalism of antitrust policy is a topic of great contemporary significance and debate, right? It provides an inquiry that is at once clearly stated, original, and empirical, setting out the relevant issues in context of law, economics, and politics. It draws on the decisional practice of antitrust authorities, actions and statements of political bodies, as well as the decisions of law courts. Yeah, there's a lot of legal stuff wrapped around the future of technology, a lot, that also feed into the economics and the social climate and politics that we don't see on the front end. When we're sending that post and we're making content and watching amazing reels on TikTok, we're not thinking about any of this. But the developers are, the technicians are, and any of you guys in positions of power who have a care and concern for the future of humanity, this is what we should be looking at now, right? The book concludes by looking forward to potential developments in this landscape and suggests an approach to the internationalism of antitrust policy, with interest to antitrust officials as well as international organisations, members of the business community, academics, researchers and policymakers. All of us have a role here to make sure that we are understanding the different scopes that this is taking in reality and in our fields. Because AI has already been initiated, how that's going to affect plagiarism within universities and schools is important. How it's going to be used in relation to cryptocurrency and DeFi and NFTs, and I mean online in regards to creating content and video. In this, there's so many different ways that the evolution of AI and it being facilitated through all of our Apple devices, because now that there is this massive alignment and merger between OpenAI and Apple, right, then things do need to be considered. So do dive into the link in the description to find out more, and feel free to share any further perspectives on antitrust in the comment, because it is an important conversation to have. And then do keep an eye on hermitology.me and all of our updates, because we do try and bring out as much publications as possible so we can stay in the know about what things are really important for us to tap into to make sure our tech is safe and healthy, and we are considering all aspects of development. Okay, have a beautiful day, guys.